Have you ever wondered why, after hundreds of study hours, your English still feels trapped between I know and I can say? Tonight, we're not adding random tips, we're changing the map. Imagine switching your brain from study mode to use mode, where ideas flow in English without translation, where you hear fast, real speech and answer naturally. What if the problem isn't effort, but the system you follow? In this masterclass, we'll install a new operating system for fluency. Daily habits, smart drills, and a blueprint that actually works. By the end, you won't just learn, you'll use. Ready to flip the switch? You've already invested countless hours into English. Grammar books, vocabulary lists, listening exercises, and even long study sessions. Yet, despite all that effort, there's still a gap between what you know and how you express yourself. You understand a lot, but when it's your turn to speak, you sometimes feel stuck, limited, or unable to show the intelligent and interesting person you truly are. This experience is not unique. It has a name: the intermediate plateau. It is the invisible wall that many learners hit after the initial excitement of progress. You are no longer a beginner, but you don't feel advanced either. You can manage daily conversations, but you hesitate in fast discussions. You repeat the same simple words, and your writing feels safe but flat. Why does this happen? Not because you lack intelligence, motivation, or effort. The truth is, most learners are simply following the wrong map. Think of it this way. If you were exploring a new city but kept using an outdated map, you would walk in circles, pass the same streets again and again, and feel frustrated that you weren't reaching your destination. That's exactly what happens with English learning. You've been relying on memorization, drills, and school-style studying that work for beginners, but become useless once you reach the middle stage. What you need now is not more random vocabulary lists or another set of grammar exercises. What you need is a completely new operating system for your English brain, a blueprint that transforms passive study into active use. This new blueprint begins with a mindset shift. Intermediate learners stay in study mode. They are constantly thinking about rules, translating in their heads, and assembling sentences like puzzles. Advanced speakers, however, operate in use mode. They think directly in English, rely on natural word chunks, and express ideas with rhythm and flow. The journey from intermediate to advanced is essentially the journey from studying English to living in English. It's the moment you stop seeing English as a subject and start using it as a tool to think, connect, and create. So the first big idea is this. In the first part, we discovered that the real obstacle at the intermediate stage is not a lack of effort, but following the wrong map. So the natural question is, what does the right map look like? How do you break free from the plateau and start moving toward advanced fluency? The answer lies in structure. Without a plan, learners drift from one resource to another, watching a video today, reading an article tomorrow, and then forgetting to practice for a week. Progress becomes painfully slow and motivation fades. But when you replace randomness with a clear, balanced, and daily blueprint, everything changes. Suddenly, English becomes part of your lifestyle, not just a subject you dip into when you have time. This blueprint is built on 5 powerful pillars, habits that advanced speakers follow every single day. Each pillar reinforces the others, creating a cycle of steady, unstoppable improvement. Think of them as the foundation stones of your fluency house. If one is missing, the structure feels shaky. But if all 5 are in place, you will notice dramatic progress in your confidence, your flow, and your ability to express yourself in any situation. The first pillar is active listening. Passive listening, playing a podcast in the background while scrolling your phone, does almost nothing. Active listening means shadowing, repeating, summarizing, and imitating real speech. When you listen actively every day, even for just 15 minutes, you train your ears to recognize connected speech, idioms, and rhythm. This is how you begin to hear English, not as words to be translated. The second pillar is daily speaking practice. Many learners get stuck because they don't speak enough. They think, I'll wait until I have a partner. But you don't need anyone else to start. Self-talk is one of the most powerful tools. Describe your day, explain your thoughts out loud, or answer imaginary interview questions. By speaking every day, you convert passive knowledge into active fluency. The third pillar is active reading. Reading exposes you to advanced grammar structures and rich vocabulary. But again, the key word is active. Don't just read. In the previous section, we uncovered the 5 pillars of daily mastery: listening, speaking, reading, writing, and reflection. But a blueprint only comes alive when you apply it. The next step is transforming those pillars into concrete skills that shift you from study mode into real-life use. Remember, the difference between intermediate and advanced English is not the number of words you know. It's how naturally and effectively you can use them in conversation, writing, and daily life. This is where skill transformation begins. Let's start with listening, because it is the gateway to all other skills. At the intermediate stage, you may understand slow, careful English, like a teacher explaining in class. But the moment you hear a native speaker chatting quickly, words blur together. Why? Because natural English is full of connected speech. Going to becomes gonna. Did you becomes du. To train your ears, you must practice listening beyond your comfort zone. Choose podcasts, shows, or real conversations where the pace feels slightly challenging. Don't panic if you don't catch every word. Focus on keywords, rhythm, and tone. Then shadow. Repeat immediately after the speaker, matching not just words, but emotion and intonation. This is how you condition your brain to follow the real flow of English. Next is speaking, the skill most learners fear. At the intermediate level, answers are often short and safe. Yes, it was good. But advanced speakers expand, add detail, and open the door to more interaction. Yes, it was fantastic. The music was lively, and I've had some really engaging conversations tonight. Have you tried the food? That shift from short responses to mini stories is the essence of advanced speaking. To practice, take everyday questions like, "How was your day?" and train yourself to answer in 3 connected sentences. Add reasons, feelings, and examples. Over time, this habit rewires your brain to speak with depth instead of hesitation. Then we move to reading, a powerful but often underused tool. Intermediate learners may read to get the gist. Advanced learners read to notice. We have just seen how listening, speaking, reading, and writing come alive when practiced actively. But there's another layer that separates intermediate learners from advanced communicators: the quality of expression. Think of it this way: skills are the engine, but vocabulary and grammar are the fuel. Without richer words and more flexible structures, even the most consistent practice feels limited. This is where you begin to upgrade your English from correct to compelling. Let's begin with vocabulary, because word choice is often the clearest signal of fluency. Intermediate learners lean heavily on safe, simple words: good, bad, nice, important. These words are fine, but they flatten your ideas. Advanced speakers paint with a richer palette. Instead of saying, "It was a good day," they might say, "It was a rejuvenating day," or "It was absolutely spectacular." Instead of, "She gave a good presentation," they might say, "She delivered a compelling presentation that kept everyone engaged." Notice how the second versions don't just communicate meaning, they create impact. To practice, take a common sentence and replace the basic word with 2 or 3 stronger alternatives. Soon your vocabulary will stop sounding repetitive and start sounding powerful. But vocabulary doesn't live alone. It thrives in collocations and idioms, the natural word combinations that native speakers use. For example, we make a mistake, not do a mistake. We say strong coffee, but heavy rain. Learning these chunks makes your English sound natural instead of textbook. Idioms and phrasal verbs also add flavor. Instead of "I decided," you can say, "I made up my mind." Instead of "I postponed," you can say, "I put it off." These expressions are the secret sauce that make you sound advanced and authentic. Now let's move to grammar. At the intermediate stage, you know the basics: present, past, future. But you may avoid complex structures because they feel risky. Advanced learners, however, embrace them and use them to express nuance. Consider conditionals. "If I study, I will pass," first conditional, is useful. But what about